Previously on the Frontier Farmer. Burfield, the sugar beets are ready to harvest. Get our sugar beet harvest underway nice and smoothly. There we go, the last of the sugar beets going in. We have done a bit of a revamp. The sunflowers are all ready to harvest. Let's get this harvest done. There we go, all unloaded. Ooh, 12,625 litres. And here it is. It's not brand new, but it is a fairly decent piece of equipment, I've got to say. There we go, we are away. And of course this bunker is absolutely huge. We are not going to fill it by any stretch. Now the only thing we didn't get to do was actually an additional job, and that is weed spraying Stone End Field. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Frontier Farmer at the Dark Forest. It is now November, and as you would have seen, we finished up October by clearing the weeds out of Stone End Field. And that's the reason why I'm starting at Tim's memorial this morning, as it was not that long ago, around Halloween, that we sadly lost Tim. So I've come in to check on his memorial. His tree has gone into its lovely autumnal colours, and I imagine it might bear its leaves as we are approaching winter very fast. But yes, the weeds have been cleared out of Stone End Field. Unfortunately, it looks like Burfield has had some weeds, but this is where the sugar beets came from, so we are going to be leaving this field until we plough it up. And we are not going to plough it up until we have harvested the canola from Stone End Field. And then we are probably going to chop down these trees, plough up this verge, and probably plough a combined field altogether to make a new and larger burr field. But of course we did create a little bit of a silage yard, which is now going to be burr yard, which has our silage bunker and a silage storage bunker here. And yes, we put the chaff that we harvested from Westcreek in here last month. It is still there, yet to be compacted, and I was wondering whether I should crack on and compact and ferment that, or whether I should wait until potentially the new year when the grass is ready in Newfield to mow, as we did plant our largest field, Newfield, with grass, and that was to try and get a good stock and good quantity of silage for making TMR. Now I can see that the grass has grown and it says it's ready to harvest, but it is not its highest level. The grass can grow a level higher than this, but sadly, because we are in November and approaching December, it is not going to reach that higher level. It's probably actually going to drop a growth stage or remain the same. So that means we're not going to be able to mow the grass until early in the new year, probably around March time, but we will keep an eye on it for sure. Right, Farmside field is where a lot of activity has to happen today. We need to mulch all of the sunflower stalks and clear the weeds out of here. And then this field does need reploughing, because if you recall, when we extended it, there was a bit of a section where we had a plough/cultivator and it didn't really apply the ploughing state. So we will need to buy a new plough, and I have one in mind. But before we crack on with that, I think the animals do need a little bit of attention. So I am probably going to see to them first of all, and I think we'll probably actually start by jumping in our lovely John Deere AMT, getting some grain and some protein for the pigs along with their base food. So leave the animal care with me and I'll catch you when we're done. Look out, girls, I've got your grain. And there we go. I think this is the last animal care duty we have. And it is always nice seeing to the animals, but I think that should be them set until winter now, which is good news. And drop the barrow off there. And we'll keep the hutch open so they can go in and keep warm. Yes, animals should all be happy over winter. The horses did have a little bit of fun of games trying to give them water, because I was trying to give them water with an empty tank, which does not help, but I closed their gate up. But they have had hay and oats. The cows have had the tiniest amount of TMR that was remaining, but I have moved the mixing wagon out of the way now because we will need to mix some more TMR, and I think that does kind of force the question of whether we should compact and ferment the chaff that is in the silage bunker. The answer is yes, because we need some silage pretty desperately actually. But they have had some water as well. Pigs have had some base food of corn, some protein, soybeans and some grain, I think barley it was, and then the remnants of a root crop crate that we had. And yes, the AMT is always very handy for doing those little shuttling trips back and forth. Now the open garden is growing some soybeans as some extra protein needed, but I think we have enough now, so I think I'm going to switch to regrowing some corn, as that's the base food, and hopefully the greenhouse will help grow that over winter. There we go, that corn is very keen, but I doubt we're going to be getting anything from it too soon, but it will add to the stocks that we have here. Fantastic. So this open garden really does help us with the odds and bits that we need to get the pigs nice and fed. Right, the next job is now moving on to Farmside field to get that mulched first of all. So I think the curvettes and the mulcher are around this corner, so we can hop in there. I think it's going to be a very quick job because the mulcher is a nice sizable rolling mulcher. So it's very speedy and it's quite wide, which is good. And I think our friends over at Westcreek need to do some mulching today. The cornfield, or Westcreek South as I've been calling it, that will need mulching. The corn stalks that are in there will need mulching. And these are of course sunflower stalks, in case I've been confusing the two, as I probably have been. Slow fold out and lower, but then we can get to mulching this up. And then we'll be going to buy a new plough to get this ploughed up. Right, there's rain on the forecast, so we better get ready and started. Raise the rollers, and that is the mulching all done, so we can fold away now. Now you might be wondering, why have I bothered to mulch Farmside field if we are going to plough it up? Well, I think that it still helps to mulch. It chops up these stalks that much smaller, helps them to rot down. If we ploughed the field, it would just pick them up and turn them into the ground as they are. Probably wouldn't chop them up very much. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my thought process on it. Mulcher parked up, and we need to head over to the distribution centre to pick up our new plough. And I'm going to take the opportunity to get rid of this old cultivator that we purchased. I think the last time we used this, and I think it was the first time we used it as well, was on Newfield to do cultivating, and we found it to be quite a deep cultivator. It did create some stones, so we are not really in need of this because we have a direct seed drill and a direct planter, so cultivating is a thing of the past. So we'll get rid of this and come back with a brand new plough. Beacons on. It's always a must when you're in the dark forest, especially in some of the darker months like November, December and January. Right, let's drop this cultivator off here to sell and pick up our new plough. And the plough we are going to be getting is this Lizard Lands 700. It's quite a small profile plough. It has discs in the front row, some chisels in the middle, and then some rollers at the back. So yeah, it looks to be quite cool. It's not the widest, 7 meters, but that is 1 meter wider than our previous plough, maybe only 0.5 meters, but even so, this is actually going to do ploughing rather than ploughing / cultivating, which doesn't leave a plough condition. But yes, it's fairly expensive at 38,000, but only takes 140 horsepower, so we could actually pull this with the International if we wanted, but it comes in a nice yellow, so that matches our Kirovets perfectly. And here it is. Definitely is a nice colour match. And the good thing about this plough is it doesn't pivot in its own right. It is just sitting on the back. So we can probably be quite flexible with how we manoeuvre it and handle it based on the articulated steering of the Kirovets. And that's probably going to help with corners, turns and different rows when we are ploughing. Fantastic. Looking good. Let's get back to the homestead and we can get Farmside field ploughed over. Oh, it seems like the sun is shining now that it's 11 o'clock. But there is rain on the forecast. I wonder when that is going to creep up on us. Now, in regards to Farmside field, we did have a couple of undulations up the top end, thanks to our tractor fest, where we had some placement of market stalls and so forth. So I'm hoping our mulching and rolling has leveled that out, but I'm just going to go check on it quickly. Just had a quick scout over there and looks to be all right. So let's get this lowered, get to ploughing, and hopefully we can get this all turned over. Of course, stones is something we are going to have to deal with as well. Creeping out of the field, and I think that is us done. And I ploughed the field first of all with a headland, and I did 2 headlands just to make sure I had enough turning space. Oh, I am in the trees. Need to navigate my way around so I don't collide with them. There we go. That's the thing about the dark forest, it's so easy to get lost in and amongst the trees. But yes, 2 headlands of ploughing, give me some good turning space, and then I was able to try and line up the ploughing with the plough lines, but it can be difficult sometimes when the field is an odd shape and the longest line is kind of splitting the field in 2, and then you've got various different bits to see to. But not a bad job overall, and thankfully I think that is our field now in a well ploughed state. Of course, we've got some stones to deal with, but we will probably deploy some of our older mechanisms of stone clearing for that, i.e. the bucket on the front of the tractor. So that's the plough dropped off, and I think we can shut down. And you'll notice I think there is one of our previous ploughs behind it, so this is yes, a good half a metre, maybe a metre wider than this case plough back here. There we go. Right, stone clearing. So we need probably the old bucket and the international harvester to get the stones all cleared up. So there's the international, but I have been having a little look around and I can't see the bucket. So my feeling is that we donated it to Westcreek when they were doing the field creation over there, and that does ring a bell. So I think rather than heading over there to pick up the bucket, we'll probably try and use the wheel loader, which had a bucket attachment from when we created the road to the animal dealer, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, here it is. There we go. So we're actually going to be using the wheel loader for some stone clearing, which will be interesting. And I was wondering whether we should create a stone silo, very similar to the silage silo that we've created over in Burr Yard. But yeah, I'm not really so keen on having such a big area just for stones. I think we'll probably just pile them up as we go. So let's get this stone bucket attachment on the wheel loader, and I think to wrap it up we might actually go and compact the chaff that is in the silage bunker with this wheel loader to get that underway. Right, bucket is collected. I think this is another one of those buckets where you need a very specific angle in order to collect the stones but not drop them down. So let's get that arranged. Alright, just been doing some trial and error and I think we've got that to where it needs to be. So it's going to be a bit of a process, but let's work our way around this. Hopefully we're not going to compact it too much by driving around it in the wheel loader. And we are doing this because we don't really have a better way of stone clearing. We have tried a couple of options for stone clearing and they've either been too fiddly, too funky, or just not worked efficiently at all. So the bucket just seems to be the way to go for now, unless there is going to be a more modern option available. But nonetheless, let's get all the stones cleared and then we can press on with compacting the silage in the bunker. And then the hope is we might be able to look at purchasing a new manure spreader. Right, that is the stones all collected and in the bucket. We only filled it by about a third of the way, but that is good news. And I thought I'll just come straight over to compact the chaff that was in the bunker, because the weight of the stones in the bucket gave it a bit of extra oomph when compacting. And we have compacted 100% now, 51,333 litres of chaff. So let's cover that up, and that is going to ferment and should be ready by December. So that is good news. Right, we can close up, get these stones dropped off somewhere. That is 1,845 litres. So yeah, stones felt like there was a lot more than that in there, but when you pick them up they don't always amount to too much in terms of literage. And the funny thing about stone collecting is you don't have to cover all of the ground, because the stones don't sit everywhere within the field, they are sporadic. But because the stone collecting process actually changes the texture of the ground, kind of makes you feel like you do need to cover everywhere, especially if you're a bit like me and you always try and reach that 100% coverage. But it's just not workable when stone collecting, and it ends up just being a bit of a waste of time if you're stone collecting in areas where there are no stones. It just does not make sense whatsoever. Right, we'll drop the stones off here in this existing pile. And I think what we might do is use those stones to turn this area into a bit of a gravel hard core, as we do tend to use this area quite a bit for our grain trailer to go when we're harvesting new fields. But obviously we won't need to use that because there is grass in there at the moment. But it will be nice to have that as a bit of a hard standing, and we did talk about putting some sheds there at one point, so maybe that could be the hardcore for the foundations of a shed. Right, let's get the wheel loader parked up. That is one extra job that I had not accounted for today, stone picking. I always seem to forget about it, but never mind, it is done now. And yes, I am on the lookout for a new mechanism to collect stones, something that will make my life a little bit easier, and something that fits in the dark forest. So if you have any ideas, I am all ears. Super. Right, wheel loader can get parked up, and then I think we're going to head over to the distribution centre, as I did mention about getting a new manure spreader. Now, the Fortrit manure spreader that we currently have is absolutely fantastic. I do love it, and it has served us really well. The only thing is that our fields are getting bigger and we have more fields. Well, fields that we are going to combine, so less fields total but more fields land mass. And I think we need to upgrade. And also the manure spreader that was at Westcreek, which we purchased, doesn't seem to perform too well, so I'm thinking we will donate this one to Westcreek now that they have the new Volvo, which is perfectly capable of pulling that. So off to the distribution centre to buy a new manure spreader, and you might notice that I am walking there, so that might be a bit of a clue as to what I have in mind to purchase. Right, we made it over here. I think you could almost kid yourself that we are in later summer still, because the sun is out, but there is rain on the forecast that has not come yet, so I'm wondering when that is going to strike. Right, let's see what they've got for us. Now this is what they have got for us. The Challenger Terragator, which is a self-propelled manure spreader. And it's a bit of a beast, if I say so myself. It is 1,570 horsepower. Wow, I have never used something as beefy as that I'm aware of. It has a 1,000 litre gas tank. Well, I think it's going to need it with that kind of horsepower engine. It can take 45,000 litres of manure. That's pretty much just under half of our Dovecote if we were to fill it up. And it can run at 12 mile an hour, which is pretty good. Now, it is rather expensive, $175,800, but you are buying a vehicle and a manure spreader in one. and the homestead bank account is looking pretty damn good at the moment, so I think this is going to be a worthy investment for the future. Now, although this model looks pretty brand spanking new, the one they are providing us is slightly used, so it's not going to look as immaculate as this, but nonetheless it will be pretty good, I'm sure. Right, let's buy it. And it looks like the rain has finally appeared. It is slowly starting to drizzle now. But here is our Challenger Terra Gator. And as mentioned, it is slightly used, but not to worry. I'm sure it is going to serve us really well. And I think this is probably one of the more modern pieces of equipment we have in the Dark Forest now. It's pretty massive, if I say so myself. It's got this big bucket area in the back, which is for housing all the manure. This is what spreads it out, and yeah, absolute beast. Oh, you can hear all of that horsepower. Let's take a look on the inside. Yeah, fairly alright on the inside, not too shabby. Right, let's see how she runs and get back to the homestead. Quick off the mark, that's for sure. Now, of course, the main feature of this Terra Gator is it has one wheel at the front, which I think can pivot on quite a small space, so we will have a great turning circle. But one big bonus is we've got some dual beacons, which is fantastic. And I got to say, I am putting my foot down, and this can absolutely go like the clappers, up to 26 miles an hour, which is, yeah, pretty good for a vehicle of this size. Right, we are going to fill up with manure. We are going to get Farmside field covered now that it has been ploughed. This is probably going to clear, as I say, it's going to clear out about half of the dovecote, but the manure will be in there, so it should be fine to remain. I'm not sure if this has a cover, but yeah, we will see once it is full. Okay, 93%. That means we've probably not processed enough manure yet to fill it up, but that's not a problem. Right, is there a cover? I don't think there is a cover. Do we need to unfold it? Yes, we do. Right, that adds a little bit of a visor to the back, I guess maybe to stop it spilling over the top as it gets dragged towards the back. There will be like a chain system on the bed which drags it back towards these spinning wheels. Right, I better head in a little bit because it is going to fling the manure out at quite a pace and fairly wide, I think, from what the distribution centre told me. Right, I've switched it on, and one good thing is if you stop, it actually automatically stops, which means it doesn't waste any manure. But you can see the spreading width. We are going to get this job done in no time. I said it was going to be a quick job, and it definitely was. So we can fold it back up now and get this parked away. We don't want the manure to get too wet in the back there. And that's a fair point, to be honest. Where are we going to park it? It is quite big. I did not think of that before we got given this opportunity by the distribution centre. I think I'll probably park it under the sawmill for now. Thomas might have a go at me, but yes, we need to park it somewhere, and I don't think we have a shed that is big enough for now, so under here it goes. Wow, this is definitely our biggest machine on the homestead. Superb. Right. Look at that. What a beast. Now this rain has come about, which is a little bit pesky, but our coverage of the manure was pretty good. Took me a little while to get used to the widths. We've been using the Fortrit for so long. But there we go. Yeah, it is all covered. And I'm hoping that we kind of used the right amount of manure there. I think we still had a good amount left in the Terrogator, so that's not a problem. But I do want to check out the Dovecote just to see how much we have got left. And I was going to take the Fortrit manure spreader, our old one, over to Westcreek, but as it's so wet, I don't think that we are going to be doing any manure spreading over there. And yes, we got plenty of straw left in here processing, but we've emptied all of the manure that we had produced into the Terrogator, so we'll give it a little while, as I do want to take the Fortrit manure spreader over to Westcreek nice and full. So the Fortrit can stay in the shed for the time being. We will fill it up next month and take it over to Westcreek in readiness for the manure spreading. I think one of the farmers was due to do some mulching this afternoon of the cornfield, but that's probably going to have to wait now that it has gotten wet. That is not going to be a fun job. But that is us for today. It has been a busy one, mainly centred around Farmside field and getting that kind of turned over, ploughed, and then stone collected, and now manure spread with our fantastic new manure spreader. Now that manure spreader is very big. It's going to be perfect for fields like Newfield, but in some of our smaller fields it's going to make the job very fast, but we'll have to make sure we don't miss bits or waste bits. But I hope you have enjoyed watching. If you have, remember to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you've got any tips, tricks or things you'd like me to do, then feel free to leave a comment. But all there's left to say is, hope to see you again next time on the Frontier Farmer. And until then, I will catch you later. Cheers all. Bye bye.